Welcome to this video. In this video we will see how we can install xdebug in XAMPP, and then we will also configure that in VS Code. So by default XAMPP does not come with support of xdebug, and like most of the time developers are putting die or echo statement to check the behavior of the code. So this traditional approach works, but then it is very tedious and time taking. Also, it would be very nice to have more robust approach to debug an application where developer can have more control on code execution by putting breaking point. So that is where xdebug comes in play. We can easily debug an application by installing xdebug PCL package to our default XAMPP stack, and then in this video I will show you how we can install that and how we can configure that in PHP Ini with VS Code. So let's get started. Let's go to official xdebug website. For Linux and Mac OS, you can download the source. For Windows, I am having PHP 7.4 and working on 64-bit, so I am downloading this DLL file. Windows may give you this warning, so let's skip it. It has keep the file in downloads folder. Now let's go to XAMPP installation and PHP extension, and here you have to put your xdebug that DLL file. Since I have already put that, so I am skipping that part. Now after placing the DLL file in extension folder in XAMPP installation, we have to go to php.ini where we have to perform a few operations. First is so this is the set of code that I have written in INI that enables or instruct xdebug to use that instruct XAMPP to use this xdebug options. So first, then extension, here we have to provide the path of the DLL file. Then the mode of xdebug, that is I want to have that in debug mode. Starts with request, that this comes with in the latest version. I guess in the older version this option was not there, so maybe on 2.9 onwards we are having this option. So in 3 since we are using 3.0, so whenever we request on server, this starts xdebug starts. Client and remote port both are I have set on 9001. Logs files, so if you want to log the xdebug logs, then I have provided the location, then the log level is 7, that I will show you in a bit. IDE key, so I'm using VS Code, so that IDE key is VS Code, everything in capital, and then the client host. Since we are going to debug the local application, it always going to be local host. Now if you go in the official website on documentation, all configuration settings, you will find all the settings here. I have used a few of them in the INI file here, but then you can get the list of all the settings on the official website. Okay, now let's go to VS Code. Type Ctrl+Shift+X, or maybe if you have the sidebar, then click on this option. That will have the search bar where we can search for xdebug, and this particular extension I am using by Felix Becker. I have already installed that, so I am not installing it again. Next step would be adding a configuration file in a VS Code for xdebug extension. So let's go on run and click on add configuration. So I have already added the configuration, but I will explain you the code in a bit. So by default you will have a configuration with two objects, one with listen for xdebug and second with launch currently open script. We are more interested in first option. Then type is PHP. Obviously we are using PHP as a server-side language. Then the most important part is port. It has to match with the port that we have defined in INI file. Then the path mappings. I think this does not come with default JSON file that VS Code creates, but then it is very important. Here we are defining the project folder path, and we are mapping that with workspaceFolder for VS Code, and we are also instructing VS Code to ignore any file that falls in vendor folder. So we are excluding all the modules that Laravel downloads through Composer. Now let's try to debug the application. First let's go to app, http, and then register control. Here I have overridden a few default Laravel registration flow and many of the functions. For instance, this create. So after the registration validation is performed, it comes on this method, and then it creates the user object or record in database, and then it attaches the role to the user. So let's put a debug point or breaking point. Let me add two breaking point at line number 88 and at line number 91. Now let's go here, and you will have both options, but then as I said, we are interested in listening for xdebug. Click on start debugging. So this is my website. Here going on register, let's add a name, foo@bar.com, test@123, select a role, then click on register. Okay, password does not match. Maybe let me just copy paste. No, okay, let's try one more time. Yes, so I think the validation has been passed, and as you can see, our default execution script execution has been stopped. Here we can see the breaking point has been highlighted with yellow border. On left hand side you will get all the data. So this data we have passed from the form post. Obviously token is like hidden parameter for that Laravel uses for CSRF. This is CSRF token for cross-site forgery thing. And then let's roll over. So here on the right side you will get to see few options. Let's see one by one. One is continue, second one is step over. So let's use step over. Shortcut is F10. So step over would be like even though you have not provided the breaking point on the next line, but still if you want to execute line by line, then you can click on F10 So once I have clicked on F10, you can see the role has been created or found. So here we will have a role variable. Also we can watch. Okay, we have not put any watch, but then on super globals you will see all the cookies, all the environmental variables, and so many things. User defined constants. Laravel has defined few out of the box. We have not defined any, but then if we have defined any, that will also listed here. So like moreover it provides like all the control to the developer to see what is actually happening at this breaking point. Now let's click on F5. So F5 would immediately go to the next breaking point. If we have not provided any breaking point, then it will continue the execution. So here we have. Then I think it has the same information, but then in $this you will get to see where it is going to redirecting to. So now again click on F5. Yeah, execution is going on, but then there are no breaking points. So let's go back on the browser. You will see it is started executing the code, and then in a bit we will be redirecting to the logging page. Yep. So I guess this is it. In this video I have demonstrated how we can debug application and what are the benefits of that. Preference would be both a traditional approach where if the script is not that complex, then I will go for die. And if the script is more complex, and if I want to see how what other variables and what are the super globals and how they are affecting the execution, or even I want to determine what is the execution flow, then I would definitely go with xdebug approach. I have shown you both. Thanks for watching this video. Happy coding.